everybody, and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I'm your host. I'm so happy to be here. If you are listening live, it is the 8th of June at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if you're listening to an archive or a replay, I also want to welcome you to the show. I hope you guys are having a great day. I think the energy is a little bit easier this week. Last week was, I don't know, we were still kind of riding on that eclipse and, things were weird. I think they're a little better now. I hope so. So far, so good over here, I think. But at any rate, I hope all is well at your house. I want to let you know we are over in the chat room, and you can find that by heading over to 12radio.com. That's number 2 radio.com. Click on the chat button, and you'll be redirected into the Facebook chat. You'll see my banner at the top of the page. If you've not joined the group before, you will need to ask for entry. It's a private group. And we do it that way so that whatever you post in here doesn't ever show up on your Facebook wall for your friends to see. This is just about you, nobody else. So that's how we like to run things. I'm also live streaming this event over on YouTube and my Facebook page. And to find that, all you have to do is head over to Katie-Weaver. No, you don't. That's my website. What am I doing? All you have to do is head over to YouTube or my fan page, Katie Weaver Domestic Mystic. And you can find the live stream. And if I were you, I'd come over to the live stream because today is that day every month where I read cards from all of my colleagues. So we'll do that later in the show, but I'm excited. So I have Connecting to the Universe with Keisha Angel. I have the one and only Mo Tarot. I have the Gratitude Oracle by Angie Hartfield. I have Sweary Spirituality by Kelly McLean. I have my own deck, the Ground Blessed Protect and Move deck. And I have Christy's deck as well. So I'm going to read from all of those later on in the show. So it's kind of fun to be in the chat for this one so that you can see the cards. But, I digress. Do as you will. Oh, my goodness. So this weekend, Mars had her first travel tournament of the weekend. So that was fun. And then on Sunday, Christy and Rhonda and Mike, my sisters, and their son came up and climbed in our car, and we drove to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and entered the Grand Teton National Forest there, or Grand Teton National Park, and we went from there up into Yellowstone. So our plan was to try to see the bears. They're seeing a lot of bears up in there, and we did not see any bears. In fact, we hardly saw any wildlife, which was really weird. But my God, there were a lot of people. I'm thinking that's probably why, a lot of tourists. So it was fine, though. We had a lot of fun. We laughed a lot. We, did what we do. We messed around a lot. We teased Mike a lot and had fun. So I posted a couple of pictures in the chat room, but I'll share them here in the stream too. So I shared a couple of pictures of what the Teton Mountain Range looks like up close and personal on the Wyoming side. So since I live in Idaho, we call this the backside of the Tetons. The people in Wyoming call this the Tetons, and the Idaho side the backside. So who's right? Well, us. But, it's fine. I don't want to fight with my Wyoming friends. But they are pretty damn majestic. You can see the front side of the Tetons from my house. If it's clear, you can see them from the road. But this is an hour closer here, or a little more than an hour probably. But they're a pretty amazing mountain range. So I thought that picture was probably worth sharing. Yeah, it is a pretty amazing world out there. I'm just was really grateful to get out. I've been trying to get there for a while. We also drove through but didn't get out because there were a million people at one of the most magical places in the world. to me, which is a place called Jenny Lake. Jenny Lake is this incredible place that is super majestic and magical. It is at the base of the Tetons. It's a glacier lake and is filled from runoff all year long. And you can take a ferry from one side to the other. And the lake is absolutely glass clear to the bottom. It is so cool. So we didn't get out. We didn't go do the ferry. We didn't do any of that because seriously, like the amount of cars, I've never, ever seen these areas that busy, ever. But, you know, people have busted loose from COVID and they're getting themselves out. So I don't know. You can't really blame them, I suppose. But for me, I got to go back when it's not so crowded. The other thing that happened at my house this week, that's little Blue. I shared a picture in the chat room, but this is a picture of our Basset Corgi mix dog, little Blue. You can see why. She has a blue eye and a brown eye. And Scott and I were running errands Thursday afternoon, and Mars got home from school or from work, and little Blue was hanging out in her bedroom, and her face was all swelled up. So you can see she, poor thing, kind of looks like a cartoon. And we've seen this before in other dogs where they eat a bee or a spider or something, you know, and their face blows up. So she got Benadryl and lots of loves and kisses. And actually her face blew up quite a bit more than this. It just, it took a little longer. So it took 1.5 doses of Benadryl, but we got her under control. And she woke up the next morning completely normal. But oh my goodness, poor Blue. Her ears eventually blew up to where they got so swollen that they were just kind of poofed up on her head. So anyway, poor little thing. But again, we've seen it all before with other dogs. One time our little tiny Rico, my itty bitty Chihuahua boy, we woke up one morning and he looked like that. And I did take him to the vet. And the vet said, "Oh, he must have eaten a spider in your bed." I was like, oh my God, Rico, you're a hero. But that's horrifying too. Anyway, all's well that ends well. She's completely fine. But, oh, big yikes. So then to add insult to injury, Mars had to stand on the scale and weigh her so that she could give her enough Benadryl. And she had a fit over the fact that Miss Blue weighs 40 pounds. Yeah. So she had a double whammy. Yeah. I know. Poor Blue. She is actually the sweetest dog on the planet of Earth, you guys. She's one of those dogs that just truly wants to be absolutely everyone's friend. She's a little angel. So anyway, we're glad she's fine. And we were momentarily entertained by her face. But, you know, what can you do? So let's go through Luminous. And of course we monitored her breathing, and you know, if she'd gotten worse, we would have gone to the vet. But because we've been down this road a few times, her aunt Freckles, my parents' old basset hound that my sister Kara still has, she did this one time and I've never seen anything like it. Like her face, seriously, she looked like something out of a cartoon. It's so terrible. Yeah. So anyway, then we went right to the vet and they gave her, guess what? Benadryl. So we figured we were good. We'll go with Benadryl. If she acts like she can't breathe, the vet is literally around the corner, but it was all good. So Shalisa, it is so good to see you. I want to say hi to everybody that's in both of my chats. Really good to see all of you guys. So let's talk about Luminous. So I realized that I could be just screen sharing Luminous with the chat or with the live stream. So I'm going to do that. Sometimes I forget to use the text that I do have at my fingertips. I did share a link in the chat room as well. And if you want to just go to my website, it's katie-weaver.com and click on the Luminous button. You can just see it right there as well. So let's go through a few things here. Okay. So I just wanted a cover full of butterflies this week. That just spoke to my soul. So here we go. Butterflies, flowers, all the good things happening, right? All right. Well, I called the magazine this week the What a Wonderful World edition, just because everything is beautiful and green. Last week, one of Mars's friends stopped by to drop something off, and she said, I just want to tell you, I just love your yard so much. It is so beautiful. And I looked around my yard, and we haven't mowed our lawn yet this year. Like, it's ridiculous. The chihuahuas are getting lost. Uh, we have done literally no yard work at all. And this sweet girl is complimenting my pretty yard. And I realized it's so green and there's so many trees and it is pretty. It just it's pretty unkempt. I said, thank you. Our secret is not doing anything. We both really laughed. But anyway, we're going to have to mow the lawn soon. We put it off as long as possible because the more you mow, the more you have to water. And so we do let our lawn get a little longer so that it will keep reseeding itself and so that we're not constantly using up resources by watering it. But anyway, that one killed me. It really cracked me up. Poor girl. She was trying to give me a nice compliment. In my musings, I shared Louis Armstrong performing What a Wonderful World. That's in my heart today. And I thought, you know what? I don't really have much to say. I'm just going to let Louis do it for me. All right, bitch scopes. So bitch scopes this week are, of course, written by Miss Kelly. So she's giving us a look at everything we might need or want to know. And, she always breaks it down by what's happening in the skies and then gives us the actual scope. So I thought we'd look at Gemini since it's their birthday. She says, Gemini, your confidence levels and sense of identity can get a boost this week. There may be a lack of clarity at the moment, but keep a journal of things that you feel are changing within you and keep track until well after Mercury stations direct. You may feel confused and overwhelmed by situations or information overload at the moment. But if you can trust and hold steady, the universe is going to clear up all for you as the month progresses. So hang in there, Gemini. Be sure and check out your bitch scope. They are awesome. They're so accurate. I absolutely love Kelly's work. All right. My tip this week is making sun tea. Do you guys make sun tea? When I was a kid, this was my mom's. She loved to make sun tea. She did this all the time. And as an adult and a metaphysical adult, thinking about the power of the sun, right? And infusing your tea with those lunar rays or those solar rays. Speaking of which, you can make moon tea too, which is actually pretty cool. You can do that in the full moon and do the same thing. So you combine a gallon of water with 8 tea bags of your choice, seal it in a clean jar with a tight lid, and let it sit in the sun for 5 hours. Do this with a glass jar, please. You don't want to do this with a plastic jar and then have the sun heating it up. It could be unsafe, right? So I'm all about the glass jar. And you can buy gallon-sized, like ball canning jars, or like the one in this picture. You can get these at Walmart. But let it sit for 5 hours, sweeten it with honey or stevia or nothing or whatever, and store it in the fridge. It'll stay good for a few days. Be sure that you do remove the tea bags though. Don't just leave them in there indefinitely. You will not have a good outcome. But at any rate, this is how you make sun tea. And then you can enjoy all of the goodness of that sun elixir along with your tea. All righty. Caroline's column talking about how to know if you're suffering from toxic poisoning. And then, of course, you can watch last week's Katie Weaver show. Christy brings us a card from her Kindred Spirits Energy Oracle deck. It is the ACT card. Act, motion, time to choose, physical movement, and creating change. I like that this week. I think a lot of people are taking action in various ways in their lives and might need that little bump forward. The Magic Monday message from Melissa, complete with the postcard she brings us this week, which is gorgeous. It's good for the soul. I love that. Which makes you ask, what is good for the soul? Well, this is a collection of things in the picture, right? She has Palo Santo, she has flowers, she has cards, she has selenite, she has candles, she has some wood pieces, things that are good to her soul. She has books, right? So the question isn't so much what's good for her soul, though, it's what's good for yours. And are you getting that? The crystal guidance this week is the banded agate. Supports physical and mental energy, encourages action, and brings courage. And then Anita brings us her master this week is Archangel Raguel. He's known for his assistance with creating harmony in relationships. His name means friend of God. And she has a whole article here on how to connect with Raguel and why. So, and then of course there's a video from Jamie Dawn. You know, Jamie does a brand new video every week, and they are so great. Just combining her brand of astrology as well as intuition and knowledge, and they are lovely. So be sure you check that one out too. So this is Luminous this week. So we'll see. Hopefully this was a helpful way to present it. We'll see. Let's see. Yeah. All righty. So I just want to talk briefly about true crime paranormal, you know, where a lot of my energy goes these days. So much going on. This morning, Christy and I realized that there was a sentencing hearing on a really important case in our area. So we just kind of impromptu decided to stream it, and it ended up being an hour and 40-minute event. But that was really, really interesting. So in the sentencing, you hear from not only the victim statements. So, you know, the family of this girl, it's a girl that was raped and murdered here in Idaho Falls like 25 years ago. And her name was Angie Dodge. And there was someone who was convicted of that and served nearly 20 years in prison, but he was the wrong person. And finally, justice was done, and they were able to exonerate him and arrest the right person, a man named Brian Drips, because of DNA and familial DNA, which is solving all kinds of cases these days. But anyway, Brian Drips's sentencing was this morning, and so there was the victim statements. So two of Angie's brothers addressed the court, as well as her mother, Carol. And then the prosecution put on a slideshow presentation of how wonderful Brian Drips is. How all these years, you know, yes, he did commit this horrible murder, and yes, he did watch the wrong man sit in prison for all these years. Yes, he lived across the street and watched her family go through this and watched, the police be there and watched her body hauled out of the house and yada, yada. Yes, he did those things, but he's actually just such a good guy. Like, good Lord, you know? Anyway, that was a lot to sit through. So, of course, he did get sentenced, and all's well that ends well. He's never getting out of prison. He's elderly now and in terrible health anyway, but that was really interesting to hear. Not the victim statements were, oh my God, excruciating, but the maddening conversation of watching this slideshow of pictures of this guy from when he was little and pictures of him walking his daughter down the aisle. Like, how does that make anyone feel sympathetic towards you, knowing that Angie Dodge never got to walk down the aisle because you murdered her when she was 18 years old? I just don't know, you guys. I'm still shook, honestly. Like, holy shit. But anyway, it's done. So yeah, me too, Shalisa. I'm so glad to finally see justice in this case. Wow. Just wow. So anyway, the live stream of that is there. if you're interested in our true crime work, just go over to YouTube or any podcast to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters, and you'll find us there. We also have cases this week about a sex trafficking case in Miami. That's the disappearance of Natty Perez. And the coolest thing this morning, we broke that case, we sent that case out last night. She actually disappeared in 2012, but we got a message this morning on our page from a sex trafficking detective who wanted us to know how much she appreciated us covering that case, and that every time we cover a sex trafficking case, she really appreciates our work on those, because the world needs to understand sex trafficking so much better than they do, because we have this idea that in sex trafficking, then, you know, someone is just kidnapped, you never see them again, and they're in some kind of underground den, you know, keeping drugged up and sexed out until they die. And that does happen. Now, historically, that has happened. But sex trafficking now, especially here in the US, has a very different face. People who are children, teenagers who live with their parents, who are invited to be special employees. This is how it all went down on Jeffrey Epstein's island a lot. These young girls who were selected to be models, or to star in commercials, or to work at these posh places. And, you know, their families send them off for the summer to go do this cool job. And as it turns out, no, they're trafficking them for the summer. And then before they come home, they are given a bunch of money and a lot of threats, and they're sent back home to live with their families. And they get away with this because the people doing these things have so much money. It's much more likely people you know that have been trafficked or trafficking in your area looks more like this than it does the more nefarious, you know, vanish forever kind of trafficking. That is a lot more rare. But anyway, I'll never stop talking about trafficking because it's something we need to really understand. And the media somehow has managed to provide us with a lot of misdirects in accusing the wrong people, and not really looking at trafficking from a more modern view. So anyway, but it's always nice in the work that we're doing over there to hear from families, from law enforcement, you know, from people that really know, you know, that it's making a difference, that we're serving a purpose. So anyway, always nice to hear that. But so if you're interested in our true crime work, that's where to find it. Okay, let's take a quick look in the chat room. And again, I am going to read today out of all of my colleagues' decks. I thought that would be a fun one for today. Kind of in the mood to be easy, you know? I guess if it's really hard today, I'm probably not going to fight for it. But before we do, I want to tell you guys about someone who has become my new hero, and you deserve to hear her name. This is a young lady by the name of Odyssey Alexander. Odyssey Alexander is a pitcher. She is a pitcher for James Madison University. And she did something really, really amazing this year. She led James Madison University clear to the World Series of softball. And they were an unranked team. They were total no-names. I've never heard her name before. Beyond that, Odyssey Alexander is Black, and she's a pitcher, and you practically never see that. Why? Yeah, you tell me why, right? But she's an amazing athlete and an amazing person, and I've just been so excited and honored to be able to watch her progression here through the World Series. So they came into game 1 last week, and they beat the number 1 team in the nation, Oklahoma. And then the next day, they beat the number 5 team, Oklahoma State. Amazing. Then Oklahoma beat them. And then 2 days later, yesterday, Oklahoma beat them again and beat them out. So they're done, but they made it that far And it's just really, really inspiring. So she was a kid growing up. She was raised by her grandparents, and they did not have money at all. And honestly, that's probably why she ended up where she's at, because she should have gone to a major D1 school. She should have gone to like Oklahoma. But her family wasn't the kind of family that had the money to send her to all the camps and all the travel teams all over the nation and all of that hoo-hoo stuff, you know. And in fact, she only had one D1 offer, and it was James Madison, so she took it. All of the other offers she had were D3 schools, and D3 schools historically do not offer athletic scholarships, and they're really expensive. And so it was probably not even on the table for her to go to those schools. But she did get an offer from James Madison and went there. And she's just progressed and progressed. She's taken this team that really hasn't ever made much of a splash in softball and pulled them up to this place where they are, playing in the World Series, which is amazing. She not only is their pitcher, she's one of their star batters, but she's also this super inspirational being who is just really showing little girls that you can do, if you can dream it, you can do it. So her grandpa says that when she was little, she just wanted to play ball and that she wanted to be a pitcher. And she didn't have a ball, so she'd throw rocks. So he told her, if you can hit the well and keep hitting the well, then you'll be a good pitcher. You'll get your aim. And so she'd stand outside for hours every day, chucking rocks at the well and hitting it. And she didn't have a ball and a bat for a while, so she was playing with a stick and a rock. And she'd throw a stick in the air or a rock in the air and whack it with her stick. So eventually Grandpa got her equipment and they started practicing and playing together. And she was just awesome. She's a born athlete. She was also the star of her volleyball team and the star of her basketball team in high school. But after every game in this series, they interview her and she cries and cries and cries and thanks her grandpa and grandma for everything they've done for her. And it has killed me. Scott and I have both cried our eyes out watching this girl and learning her story and watching interviews with her. So I did share a video of a quick interview from her yesterday, just encouraging other little girls, to follow your dreams. And if you can dream it, you can do it. And I just think Odyssey Alexander is a huge example of that. So if you don't know her, now you do. I think her name deserves to be said. Her story deserves to be told. And then purely from a place of softball, she's amazing. So I don't know what's next for her. She's a 5-year senior. She's graduating. So I don't know. Maybe the U.S. team, the national team at some point. Maybe she'll not do any of those things. Maybe she'll go on to a pro team. Maybe she won't. I don't know. But I'm going to keep my eye on her. I hope she just keeps inspiring other girls to be able to do what she's done. So anyway, there's your little bit of inspiration for the week, Odyssey Alexander. All righty. Well, let's take a look at cards. I thought it might be fun to pull a few collective cards, and then we'll pull a few cards for you guys as well. So let's pull a card from Angie's deck. This is the Gratitude Oracle. This is her brand newest deck. She had 2 decks come out like right one after another this spring. This is the second one. And honestly, my favorite of all of her decks. And she has absolutely beautiful work, but this is my fave. All right. So I thought it would be fun to just pull cards from a few of the colleague decks, and then we'll cobble them together into a collective reading. And if you're interested in Angie's cards, they are all on Amazon. So if you just go to Amazon and search for Angela Hartfield, you'll find everything. And except for one deck that's out of print, and Scott has a copy of it, and he hoards it, and he's just like that, but it's probably fine. She actually signed it and sent it to him, because I don't know if you guys know this, but Scott is an Angie super fan. He produced her for years and produced her as a guest on Velvet Dawn show all the time, and they just got to be such great friends. and we adore her. So, okay, almost there. So I guess I'm going to pull cards from the Gratitude Oracle, from Connecting to the Universe from Keisha Angel, and a card from Square Spirituality from Kelly. So that's what we're doing. Okay. All right, so the Gratitude Oracle card is Merriment. It's these two adorable little kids playing with a top, and then there's all of this like fantasy stuff in the background. There's a unicorn, there's a ship, there's bubbles. It looks like maybe a griffin, a dolphin, a dragon, all kinds of like fanciful stuff. And the card is Merriment. So we're definitely going to put that into play here. All right, Keisha's card, Healing with the Universe, Archangel Raphael. Ask Archangel Raphael and the universe to heal your life, emotions, and physical body. Trust the healing powers of your greater self. Okay, so we are going to apply that one, and then the card from Kelly is part of the second deck, the Resistance is Futile deck. Do you believe life is happening to you or for you? Ask, how can life delightfully surprise me? You know, instead of asking, how can life further kick my ass, or what else can go wrong? Right? I think we've learned not to ask that question. All right, so let's tie them all together. So the Merriment card really speaks to me of going out of your way this week to look for some fun or some magic. You know, when I say fun, fun to me is something probably totally different to you, which is fine. We all know what makes us tick, right? We all know what brings that kind of levity to us. And again, what is fun to me could be absolutely miserable to you. I know that. So, merriment for you. But because this card is full of a lot of like childlike wonder kinds of stuff, I am going to recommend that you consider what brought you joy when you were 5 or 6, what brought you joy when you were a child. And also, what would you have loved to have done or had or experienced when you were a child? What would have brought that magic in for you if you didn't have that? So think about that a little bit this week. This makes me think about some movies I'd like to sit back down and watch, and you know, how I want to spend my time. What do I want to read? What do I want to immerse myself with? For me, it's looking like magic all the way. If I have to reread the entire Harry Potter series this summer, by God, I will do it. So finding some fun, finding some levity, finding some childlike wonder. That could also really include some art, getting your hands dirty, you know, making a mess. All right, the second part of that is the Archangel Raphael card. So while you are distracting yourself with some fun stuff, calling in some angelic healing too, or whatever it is you need. Whether it is doing something to enhance your physical body, or it's some emotional healing that you need, or even some healing in your family or friend groups. One thing we've seen with COVID is that it has fractured a lot of friend groups. I've heard this from quite a few of you, that the people that you used to spend time with before COVID, you may not be really spending time with them anymore. And now that, you know, maybe everybody's vaxxed and you feel safe to get together, but you're still not, because things just don't feel the same. I've seen a lot of that. And you might need some healing for that group, or you might need to see the writing on the wall and start forming a new one. Everyone has changed a little bit, or a lot bit, depending on you and what's gone on with you this last year. But it's likely that lots of things have changed, and you have changed. And sometimes that means your stuff changes too. And then the last part of this reading, of course, is Asking that question, how can life delightfully surprise me? Well, I think it's a great question. I think it's a good one to ponder. I just think it's a question we should ask and expect something amazing. You know, when you manifest, that we always talk about that phrase, this or something better. And I think this week we should just really anticipate the best, that good things are happening. If things are good right now, that you don't have to wait for the other shoe to fall. That if you are looking for something better, that you keep that, in mind. But how can life delightfully surprise you? Watch for it. You'll get those surprises if you're looking for them. The delightful ones, not, the toilet overflowing, right? The happy stuff. So, but when it does, acknowledge it, speak it, be aware of it. That's important. Because I promise, if you are looking for the miracles, you will see them. All right, so that's our collective energy this week. So let's take a look in the chats here. See what I can do for you guys. Lillian said, some interesting things have happened over the past week. Would love to have a card. Okay, let's see. I think for you, I'm going to pull a couple of things from the Energy Oracle Kindred Spirits deck from Christy, but I think also a piece of Mo Tarot as well. You know, in talking about shifts in people, relationships, where people are in their lives, Lillian, I think that really applies to you and people around you, very much so. Okay. Let me grab a Mo card here really quick. Mo's deck is huge, I mean, pretty thick. I'm assuming it's 72 cards because I think it is laid out like a traditional tarot deck. So anyway, there's a lot of cards in this deck. Which makes it that much more impressive because he did all of his own art. I didn't do that. I commissioned someone. I don't have those skills at all. All right, so the card from Christy's deck is the Green Tara. Spiritual transformation, inner reflection, going within, understanding, self-love, forgiveness, and solar plexus. Really calling on your intuition, really calling on your sense of self, on confidence, on your willingness to put yourself out there. Really all coming up this week. And then Mo's card is the Emperor. This, I think, could definitely represent a man in your life. I know that you've been thinking about one particular one, and I'm looking at all that light. Interesting. I think, Lillian, that we're still seeing some shift in your life that we're not going to have a complete resolution to yet, but I feel like some wheels have started turning that have been shut down for a while. So I'm excited to see where they go, but I would really remember that confidence piece. The solar plexus, really holding on to confidence in yourself and your own sense of self and self-esteem. Maureen resigned from her toxic job of 8 years. Oh my gosh. The doctors were in shock and so nasty. Oh, I'm sure they were. They thought they were going to get away with abusing you for time immemorial. Maureen, I will drink to that. It's only coffee, but it's what I have in front of me. I told you when you quit that job, we were doing shots. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. I know that in doing this, you're opening the door for better things to come. I know it's true. And good for you. Now, here's the thing. When you're done, completely done with that joint, we're going to need to do some good clearing work. We're going to need to really set you free from their cords and crap. But for right now, you just keep your head up, ignore the drama to the best of your ability, and just see yourself through it. Because you know what? You don't owe them anything at all. I'm going to pull you a couple of cards from my deck, from the Groundless Protect and Move deck, because I think the next little while, spiritual self-care is going to be really, really key for you, because, you know, you're going to have some daggers thrown your way. Okay. All right, Maureen. All right, so I've got a move card, I've got a grounding card, and I've got Archangel Michael, all for very good reasons. So let's start with Archangel Michael. So this is, pardon me, a protect card. So when you pull this card, it literally means that. Call in Archangel Michael for protection. And I think for you right now, I can't think of a better step for you to take than calling in Michael to help you to protect yourself and shield your energy from the ugliness. Because it is here, they're not happy, that's too bad, as things get harder there, you know, because you do a lot there. It's going to leave them in the lurch. And I know they've lost some other employees too. And so things are going to be hard. And so we're going to ask Archangel Michael to come and really daily continue to keep you clear, to keep you protected from all that negativity, because you don't need it anymore. All right. The ground card is the drop roots card, literally. So here's the thing. When you are leaving a job, especially when you've been out for a long time, that is a shakeup of the root chakra. That's part of your sense of safety and security, right? So you are going to want to make sure you stay grounded. You're going to want to get yourself outside. You might need some energy work. You're going to want to get your feet in the dirt or in the sand, on the earth, at least the grass, and continue to ground yourself as you release this job and then you move forward to new possibilities. Okay? So really focusing on that root is really going to be key. And then the last card is the cycling card. Now, this is a move card. It doesn't mean you have to cycle. It means you need to be conscious of moving your body. Why? Well, so that you can start releasing the stress from this job, releasing the trauma from this job, from your physical body. I mean, this doesn't have to be, you don't have to go run a 5K, but wander around your yard, walk through the neighborhood, you know, do some things that move you to help release any of this stuff that wants to get stuck in your physical body out. So, Maureen, I couldn't be more proud of you. Honestly, I'm just absolutely overjoyed. All righty, Jane says her kitty Max, she's a little worried about him. Let me tune into Max. You know, Jane, I do feel like there's something up with him, and it's not like emotional. I mean, I know when you first moved him, it was a little hard on him, but I think that he's beyond that. I really keep wondering if there's a thyroid thing here, or a thymus thing, or even a like Cushing's or something like that. I feel like there is something happening here with him that will probably require a little veterinary. He's not particularly unhappy. He's just sluggish, just feeling sluggish and not 100% himself. So let's just keep an eye on that. And if you feel, you know, drawn to go to the vet with him, I would, and just get a little checkup and see where things are at. Because yeah, he's not quite him. You're not just imagining that. That is happening. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump into the other chat here. Let's see. Tiffany said, hanging in here, some tough relationship stuff with sister and her family. Any insight on how to proceed and address would be awesome. Thanks a bunch. Oh boy, Tiffany, let's pull some cards, and I do have some thoughts on that. Let's pull a Connecting to the Universe card and a Gratitude Oracle card for you. it's really hard because I feel like she's a really different idea of childhood than you did. Like, even though you guys are sisters, I feel like if you compare notes about what your childhoods looked like, she has a pretty different perception than you do. And there's some resentment and bitterness in her that I think colors her life in a way that isn't your fault at all, but really affects the way she perceives everybody in the family. I think it's why she gets triggered and upset by things that don't really make any sense to anybody else, because that is under the surface for her. I suspect there are things that she hasn't really pulled to the surface and dealt with, but they are there, and it really colors the way she responds to the rest of you. And I know that's really confusing to you, and that you really just want to just be family to each other, but there are some challenges there with her. I feel like there's this undertone of like defensiveness in her that's sometimes it's really tough to navigate. I also feel like, over the years you have had your fair share of health challenges and needed a little extra help or a little extra, acknowledgement. And I think in some ways she's been jealous of that, though I don't think she'd ever admit it. And if, you presented that to her, she'd be pissed and tell you that's ridiculous. But I think it's been there. Okay. Oh, I didn't pull you the cards I said I was going to pull you. I guess I probably did the right thing, right? We're letting Spirit be our guide. All righty. So I did pull you from the Keisha Angels deck. Gratitude is your abracadabra. Instead of focusing on what's missing in your life, celebrate what you have already. Gratitude is the gift that keeps on giving. I really like this for you in this situation, and I will tell you why. Okay, but Kelly says, I was going to pull you a gratitude oracle card, and this is what I did, so I'm going to roll with it. Fear depresses and represses everything. Breathing, growth, evolution, orgasm. F, fear. Yeah. So, and I think that the fear is on her part, and there's not a lot you can do about that. But I think for you, I love the gratitude card. I think for you, really focusing on the things about her that you appreciate. Tiffany says, oh my, yes, a very different version of childhood. She's the oldest and I'm the youngest, 5-year difference. And yes, she is very defensive. Yeah. Part of it, Tiffany, is just staying out of her way a little bit. I think you'll have to. Some of this, I think, are simply her issues that she's working through, and you're not going to, fully chisel into them. It's just because these are her issues. They're really not your fault. Yeah. But, Mom had her as an accident, and I was intentional. Yeah. Yep. And she resents childhood stuff and resents you. But again, I think being gracious with her, refusing to fight, just, and making sure that you acknowledge things for her, like birthdays, holidays. If she, gets a promotion at work, that you send her flowers, just gentle things. I feel like she feels like she's kind of a martyr for the cause for everybody around her. So just, giving her those little gentle things I think are best, but also recognizing that it's not your fault. And there's only so much bending over backwards you can do for her. She also doesn't have the right to be abusive with you. So there is a balance there. So I'm very sorry that you guys are going through that, but keep your boundaries, but just recognize she feels like she does for everyone, and nobody really reciprocates that for her. So maybe that's a place where you could step in a little bit. That's all, but just a little bit. You don't have to go overboard. Okay. Yeah, Tiffany said, I feel like my health issues are partly due to my family. I agree. There's been so much stress there and so much mistreatment of each other. But a great deal of stress put on your body certainly manifests sometimes in health stuff, without a doubt. Okay, Pamela. Let's pull you the gratitude oracle card. For reals. I don't know where my thoughts went. That's funny. But we've been doing this long enough to trust it, right? I believe so. Okay. Last thing, Tiffany, this comes in strong. I just have to say it, is that it's not your job to make her be your friend. It's not your job to make her like you or love you. It's not. She's going to do what she's going to do. All right, Pamela. It's the Nature's Beauty card. A really pretty card. I think for you, it is about getting out. I think it's about getting outside, planting those flowers, being out in nature. This, honestly, for you, seems like it's been a theme for the last while. But I also still don't think it's just about getting outside. It's about getting out, right? Maybe a road trip, maybe a concert in the park, things like that, where you can get yourself out of your house and out of your comfort zone a little bit with safe people and just getting out. That remains to be the message. And I know that's come up for you a couple of times lately, so we'll keep rolling with it. And I hope that Reese's is doing better. Her kitty has been a little sick. Okay. Denise said she helped a friend over the weekend and something feels out of sync now. Am I overthinking this? No, you're not. I feel like you guys need a little break from each other. I don't really feel like it's so much about you. It's their discomfort in allowing help and then feeling like being socially awkward. So just take a teeny step back. Everything actually is okay. There's just a little weirdness in her over how to navigate friendship. It's truly okay, though. All right, last one, Eva. Eva, you're going to get a Mo Tarot card. And also, hi, Eva. It's good to see your face. Okay. This is the Prince of Wands. Looks like a candle with this fancy blue flame. All this kind of magical stuff going on inside of it. Eva, I feel like for you, this card is so much for you about connections. Like that light to me really speaks to me about connections to other people. I feel like this year has been really hard on you socially, and that you could really use more in-person connections, and you've been a little afraid to seek them out and a little unsure about where to actually find them. And so there's more encouragement, and I kind of feel like that's exactly what came up for you last time, to be honest. But I think that there's some real wisdom there in continuing to seek out, in-person contacts. And I think that part of that really may be finding groups or volunteer opportunities or, a church that resonates, but like-minded people. So for what it's worth, that's what I think is happening for you and you're being asked to do, is to just continue to find people to connect with in an in-person setting. So, all righty, you guys, you know what happened. We talked down to the end of the show. We have to go. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys very much. I will be back on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific for Read Me with Katie and Kelly. And I'll be on 12Listen. Don't forget, I'm a professional psychic advisor over at 12listen.com. And you can find me over there literally every day. So if you'd like a reading, a healing, some animal communication, some cheerleading, whatever you need. You want to drink a shot with me and Maureen? Whatever. Come over there and find me. You have been listening to The Katie Weaver Show here on